No matter how old you are, if you went to school, there are things you just know about the civil rights movement. You know maybe about school integration. Maybe you know some of the key people. And you definitely know some of the music. Actually, we all think we know the music, but it turns out there was other music from that time. Secret, hidden civil rights music. Music that was only heard by people who knew where to look.
And here they are, ladies and gentlemen, the famous Norfleet brothers.
We all praise him, Martin Luther King. Yes, we all praise him, Martin Luther King.
The general public kind of only has one concept of what civil rights music is.
Dwan Reese is a curator of music at the Smithsonian.
We know the songs We Shall Overcome, but the whole idea of have a civil rights movement message in a gospel record, which just totally blew my mind.
So why did this happen? And why did these songs stay hidden for generations? There are actually two reasons. One is as old as slavery. The other is considerably downstream from slavery, but of course related. I'll tell you the older one second. But first, the times that these singers were living in. Up until almost 1950, there was only one way to get music onto the radio.
In the radio studios of America, the technicians, the entertainers, daily unite their efforts in the creation of programs to please and entertain a vast radio public.
All the music on the radio had to be done like this, live. Phonograph records were only for playing in your home. Radio stations weren't allowed to play them. The first crack in that wall came from Al Jarvis. He became America's first DJ when he started a show called Make Believe Ballroom. Here's how it worked.
Every entertainer has a favorite of his own, and I'm no exception. So I'd like to introduce the King Cole Trio doing The Trouble With Me Is You. Of all the King Cole tunes, it's my favorite, and I hope it's yours. Ready?
Jarvis would play records and pretend he was standing with an orchestra inside a fancy hotel ballroom. This is a key part to our story. Radio stations started playing records. But they weren't playing black gospel records. The music industry was run by white men in New York. So in Billboard magazine, there was a list of hit records, which were the songs most white people liked. There were also folk music records, which got changed to country and western. And there was black music. First they called it Harlem Hit Parade. To get the numbers for this chart, they would literally call up 6 record stores in New York and ask what people were buying. Think about the demographics. Calling 6 stores in New York, you're going to get a lot of songs like this.
I got a man that's more than 8 foot tall, 4 foot shoulders, and that ain't all. King size papa, he's my king size papa.
King Size Papa reached number 7 on the Billboard charts in 1947. Or this.
They're always petting and poking and jabbing and joking and cooing and cracking and wooing and whacking. They keep necking and knocking.
This is definitely music that you'd call secular. Billboard wouldn't create a gospel chart for another 30 years. So all the black music was lumped together. And that meant if you were a gospel group and you needed to make money, you had to hedge your bets. A good example is the Charioteers, who were known best for songs like this.
I would not be a sinner. I'll tell you the reason why. 'Cause if my Lord should call on me, I wouldn't be ready to die.
To make money, though, they'd sometimes debase themselves and make something like this.
Down to get you in a taxi, honey. You better be ready about 8:30. Now, dearie, don't be late. I want to be there when the band starts playing.
Or they'd do something like this.
Jesus is a rock in the weary land, the weary land, the weary land.
Jesus is a rock in the...
Yes, that's the Charioteers and Frank Sinatra. And this kind of code switching really did work. They actually hit number 8 on the Billboard charts with this song.
There are no stars to shine.
But for most gospel artists, success was a struggle until 1947.
When Mahalia Jackson sold 2 million copies of Moving Up a Little Higher, she wasn't just selling to black people. She introduces lots of audiences in the United States and around the world to black gospel music, right? And through her success, adds a popular legitimacy to black gospel.
And the black gospel music explosion he's talking about happens at exactly the same time that radio is starting to dump live music. Bob Darden started the Black Gospel Music Restoration Project at Baylor University, the largest collection of black gospel records in the world.
If you wanted your music to be heard in the 1930s, 40s, the easiest way to do that was to have it played over the radio.
And to do that, you went downtown and you made a record.
For many, many years, on many street corners in major American cities, there was a small little studio where you could go in with your group and sing a song, or maybe 2.
The record would get pressed right there in the studio. For $50, the owner of the studio would give you 50 copies that you could sell after a show or out of the back of your car. Or you could take it to the radio station. The records they'd hand you were a brand new innovation, a smaller-sized phonograph record that came to be called the 45.
In this day and age of small apartments and limited storage space, this smaller size means that folks don't need to build special cabinets for record storage. Any standard bookcase will do.
The 45 had space on it for 2 songs, one on the front, one on the back.
One song was designated for radio airplay. That was the A side. That was the side DJs were given and asked to play. The flip side, the B side, rarely ever got played unless you were a true fan at home and played both sides over and over.
These true fans, sometimes they'd even memorize what songs were on what side. Remember the movie Diner?
My Prayer. Flip side, Heaven on Earth, recorded by the Platters for Mercury Records, color of the label Maroon.
45s were the thing that made it possible for this civil rights music to hide in plain sight.
Many of the gospel artists we are just now discovering used that B-side to give a message of support and hope for the civil rights movement at a time when it was very dangerous to do so.
Bob Darden is the person who made this amazing discovery. He went on NPR in 2007 and talked about needing records for his collection. Thousands of them poured in. What he mostly got were people's collections of old gospel 45s. Now, a curator looks at a record and then flips it over. Bob did that, and that's how he figured out that an entire class of songs had been hiding for 50 years.
Here's a freedom song for all your freedom fighters out there everywhere. And when you sing, remember the wonderful ones who lost their dedicated lives for this precious purpose and won't be around to see it through. Now sing, sing, every one of you.
Well, sometime I wonder,
is there freedom in this world?
sometime I wonder.
There's an American tradition of writing topical songs. Bob Maravich is one of the collectors who gave the Baylor Archives his music.
In the 1920s, really when recording was taking off, you have sacred singers doing songs about topical issues like the Titanic.
It was sad when that great ship went down. There were husbands and wives, little children lost their lives. It was sad when that great ship went down.
20 years later, a group like the Evangelist Singers of Detroit, who normally sang songs like this,
well, let Jesus lead you, let Jesus lead you, let Jesus lead you, child, all the way,
would also record a song like this.
Tell me why you like Roosevelt. Tell me why you like Roosevelt. Tell me why you like Roosevelt. Oh.
And within that message song tradition, there was another distinctly African American tradition, and that is taking messages and hiding them inside songs. Birgitta Johnson is a professor of music at the University of South Carolina.
They addressed things like the good news and about going to heaven and salvation, but they also talked about things that were going on in the world, not just the afterlife, usually offering a spiritual or religious solution for those problems that people were facing back then.
There were also songs where the meaning was completely hidden to white people. Dr. Johnson talks about a song from slavery times called Follow the Drinking Gourd.
The drinking gourd is the Big Dipper. And so in the Big Dipper, you have the North Star in that constellation. And so people would sing that. They're basically talking about actually looking at the constellations and following the North Star to freedom. Steal Away was a message song also that kind of told people this is the time to leave. So if they were planning on escaping, they would sing Steal Away to let people know now is the time to go.
Left foot, peg foot, traveling on, follow the drinking gourd.
As the civil rights movement picked up steam, gospel performers, of course, wanted to support the protests, but doing that was dangerous.
If you had a loan and people found out you were politically active, sometimes the bank would either call for the loan to be paid in full or they would increase your rates. If they were found to be involved with the Freedom Riders or voting rights, they sometimes were evicted from their homes.
When teachers were seen protesting, they came back on Monday to find that their job had been ended.
Hiding these songs was a 20th century version of what ancestors had been doing for generations. The A side of the record was a religious message. The B side was 100% political.
Well, I'm grateful to the NAACP. Well, I'm grateful to the NAACP. Well, they have my mother, father, sister, brother, and me. I'm grateful to the NAACP.
So you had this message that you could give that would only be heard by people who were already fans of what you were trying to do. A special message just for the true believers.
There will be no segregation in heaven.
There is an unbroken line with many of these spirituals that were used in the same way in the 1840s and 50s as they were used in the 1950s and 60s.
American history can be found all over, though sometimes it's hiding, waiting for someone to find it. So the trick is to stay alert and always be looking around.
He had a dream.